So this is the third and final video on the basics and an introduction to Blender. If you've been following through the first two videos, you should see this scene here with 3 cubes and 3 objects on top with different kinds of textures on them. What we haven't done yet though is looked at how to get a final rendered image from this. Now, obviously in this rendered mode we can see roughly what it looks like, but this is just our working area. This isn't going to create a final picture, a final output, and if you were working on animated film, you wouldn't know where to look from. So that's why we have a camera, and the camera is represented by this pyramid with a triangle on top. If I press 0 on the number pad, which looks like 0 INS, so the bottom right of your keyboard, it's going to go inside the camera, and you're going to see a greyed area outside and a normal area inside with a yellow line, or yellow line if that's what's selected. So if I right click on the edge of the camera, it's selected, or just left click up here for the camera if you can't select that. And now if I go in fly mode, I actually move the camera around. What I need to do is set it up exactly where I want it to be for my final picture. So actually I'm going to go from the other side because maybe look through the glass, but you can set this up whichever angle you want to look at. So let's have a look at that. Let's check the rendered. This is the sort of situation where you realise whether your lighting is good or not. I'm not hugely fond of that. I'm actually going to go to the other side again, mainly because my lighting is more from this direction. Check the rendered. What I did there is I scrolled in with the mouse wheel. It only renders what's inside this space, so actually you don't want it too far out because otherwise you're not going to be, everything out here is just irrelevant, it's just a pointless waste of space. So that's the first thing, this is what's going to be in my scene. But now what I need to do is set up everything else that's going to be rendered. There's a couple of things I'll need to do here. Firstly, it's set up the world. Now this setting here is the colour of the background. So you just put it all the way to black. There's no environment lighting, all the way up to white. It's really, really bright. So you can actually change it to whichever sort of colour you want. So put it slightly blue. It might look like a daytime scene, anything like that. So you can change the colour a bit there. Don't make it too bright because it'll affect the way your lighting is working, but have a go at some different colours. That's the first part. Second part is if you click on this part, the scene part, this is a scene. All of these things here in one scene, and you can change a few different settings, but the first one we're going to look at, or the only one we're going to look at for now, is the color management. So come down into here, find color management and open it up, and we're going to change render view to filmic. This is going to change the look of it. We're going to change the look part to base contrast and change the sequence to filmic log. Now the reason we use filmic above the other ones is it's just got a lot more colour data, it's a lot better for what we're doing. Finally, we're going to ignore this one, which is the render layers, because we're not using render layers at the moment. Well, we are, but we're not changing them. And then finally, it's the render settings. It looks like a camera, or an old-fashioned camera. This has got all sorts of different settings for how the final image will look. So resolution, so this is a 1080 image, as you might think about the TV, and it's got this 50%. What that means is it's going to create a picture 50% of what you've got up here. Now this is our final image, we're going to do it 100%. If it's not your final image or you want to do something smaller, leave it at 50. The last thing I'm going to show you, but not really relevant, is sampling. Now the preview 32, this is 32 now. You've seen this path tracing sample go up slowly from 1 up to 32. Once it hits 32, it's finished. 128 is a lot more. It's going to be a better quality image. This one probably doesn't need many more than 32, but you'll find that some scenes will look very speckly and noisy is the term if you don't do more samples. I'm going to take this down to 64 for now, just for speed, but if you think about 32 being the amount you need for the future. Sorry, 30 for preview and 128 minimum for a final image. So I'm going to render the image now by going render and render image. And what you'll see is these squares going around to each part of the scene and rendering the squares. It can take a little bit of time to do this. It's suggesting it's going to take another 2 minutes 20 seconds. Probably won't take that long. What I'm going to do is going to pause the video while it finishes rendering. Just it's finishing. You'll have seen that areas that were quite complex and needed a lot of reflective light took a lot longer to render than areas like the background and maybe this part, which really didn't need a huge amount of thought. So this is our final rendered image. At the moment, this is still in Blender, though this isn't outside of Blender. To actually save this file to your area, you need to press F3 on the keyboard. So if you look along the very, very top of the keyboard, you'll see Escape, F1, F2, F3. If you press F3, it will open a save area. Now you need to choose where you save to. Again, your X drive should be up here. Any place you've been to quite often will be in this section here. I am just going to save this in here, tutorial render, and click save as image. Now what it's done is it's saved this image here into my documents. If I go through ICT, Blender lessons, it's just in Blender folder, tutorial render, there we are. If I double click on this now, it is just a picture in my files. So that is how you can get an image rendered out of Blender, how to use the camera, how to get inside it and move it around, and how to set up